All right, guys. Caleb Siman here, host of the Deer Shop Podcast. We have a great podcast coming to you this week. We have a young man, Logan Urban, who killed the biggest deer in the state of Ohio so far this year, 2024. A legitimate 30-point, 260-inch monster, and he killed it from the ground. I know we have a lot of new subscribers because of the two CJ Alexander podcasts, and I wanted to address that real quick. We took an interest in the C.J. Alexander case because we're from Ohio. It's somewhat local, potential world record buck, all the clout that came with it, and then the accusations. We mentioned him in one podcast earlier this year, seemed to get a lot of traction, and then he started replying to us on Instagram and YouTube, reached out, created dialogue, which caused us to do the second podcast, just to give the facts of what happened with the case, the information. But that's not the style that the Deer Shop Podcast usually is. We are a group of hunters from northern Ohio who love everything about the outdoors, fishing, hunting, you name it, we do it. Definitely an emphasis on the whitetail deer and the deer camps. And the way CJ Alexander handled everything and the way that situation went down is just very disappointing to us. It's not the way we like to run our operation, and we don't sympathize with him whatsoever. So if you are one of the new listeners from those podcasts, hang out, check out the podcast, check out the show, Deer Camp Chronicles, check out all the videos we have for the last 15 years. I'm sure you'll like some of them. Maybe you'll hate them, maybe you won't, but we hope you enjoy podcasts like today's, Logan Urban. Truly a great story. Young man killed a buck of a lifetime, just a giant. And that's more about the style of play that we like to have here at the Deer Shop Podcast. Thank you. All right, guys. Welcome to the Deer Shop Podcast, presented by Siman Brothers Outdoors and the Leaky John Boat Company.
Your track job was the first fun track job.
Oh, that was the best.
That kind of like, I think part of my life was influenced by that night.
Looking back on it, my biggest regret was opening day. I knew where it needed to be. I should have just done a simple hanging bank off the corner of that field, and he would have been toast. But I didn't.
That was our first public land deer hunting trip, and it went extremely well.
5 years ago, we couldn't shoot a deer at 100 yards with a slug gun. Now you're shooting turkeys at 100 yards with a shotgun.
It was a 90-yard shot pass through.
And then you miss him 3 times with a rifle at 70 yards on video for the whole world to see.
Yeah, that's what Caleb did.
This is the first buck I've shot in over 10 years. And, not to get too crazy emotional about it, but like
10 years, no buck. All right, guys, Deer Shop Podcast, episode 67. Today, we're going to tell the story of the biggest buck that has been killed this year so far in Ohio, according to Buckmasters. We have Logan Urban in the podcast studio with us here today. Logan, how you doing?
Good. Doing good.
Logan here has, he's officially killed a 30-point buck, and it's sitting on the table here if you're watching the YouTube version. It's absolutely incredible, and we're going to go deep down the rabbit hole on that deer here in a little bit. Let's break the ice a little bit. Just kind of talk about our hunting real quick, about 2-3 minutes worth.
Mm-hmm.
Your hunting has not been very good lately.
No, I don't think I've seen a buck in 3 hunts.
Really?
No.
You took your recurve out for a few.
Yep. And then, of course, when I have my compound, I see does. When I have my recurve, I see small bucks. I don't want to shoot a small buck. I want to shoot a doe with it.
Yeah. It's November 1st when we're recording, which means this will be out the 3rd or 4th.
2 days from now.
2 days from now. So the rut's really kicking in. I was out tonight. I was doing that thing where you like count your does and bucks you see from the tree. And I got up to 8 does and 5 bucks, and then more came in, and I just kind of lost count and started filming. I got to watch 3 or 4 different bucks grunt and chase, most of them small. I got to see another little buck do a little snort wheeze, which was kind of cool. You don't get to hear that in the woods very often. He was, I'm assuming he was either really a good size 1.5-year-old because his body was a little bit bigger than the other buck he was posturing, but he might have been just a real weak ass 2-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
But he was posturing another buck, snort wheezed him. That buck took off. And then I had a 3-year-old that I've seen on multiple hunts now, a buck we call Spindles, who I don't want to kill because he's just not there yet, obviously. But
Ethan's going to shoot him.
Yeah, he came in twice. Once with the loudest. He was doing that buck roar thing where they run through the woods, just brop, brop.
And then he went in the thicket, came back out, was eating acorns literally at the base of my tree, 3 yards. Got some cool footage of him. But, yeah, Ethan will shoot that deer if he sees him for sure. But I've had to pass him 3 or 4 times now. Hopefully he lives.
Yeah.
We'll see. But that's enough about us and our small deer hunting.
Yeah, we have Logan here in the shop. So why don't you tell us about yourself? What you do? Obviously, start with maybe how old you are.
Yeah, how old are you?
18.
Oh, man. Making me feel real old.
Yeah, so are you still in school or what?
No,
Are you?
I graduated last year. Just
Okay.
started work. So
Perfect.
So you just graduated, 18 years old. You're starting to work. Where are you working at?
I'm working out of Cleveland for a group called Rittenauer.
Okay.
It's just like I'm a plasterer, so
Okay.
I do a bunch of stuff like spray and foam insulation and all that.
You said your family owns a bow shop?
Yeah, they own Bad Boy Bait and Tackle in Vermilion.
Okay, cool. Kind of a little bit out of our
Reach.
range.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, what type of bow do you shoot?
I shoot competition too.
Okay.
So for that I shoot at Matthews, and then for my hunting bows I use a Matthews too. But I killed this deer with a Wicked Ridge crossbow.
You went crossbow for this one because
Yeah.
we'll get to that story in a minute. But you were on the ground
Yep.
when you killed him. We've had guys do that, the late season hunt from the ground crossbow thing. It makes it a lot easier than trying to sit up and draw, because you can't sit if you're hunting with an actual compound bow. You can't technically sit on the ground.
No.
And
Yeah,
it's almost impossible.
You kind of got
to
to
draw.
kneel and you got to hide behind trees. And
Yeah,
blah,
it
blah,
gets nuts. What's your trail cam of choice?
Tacticam.
You're a Tacticam
Yep,
guy.
that's what I always use.
We used to be. We've kind of moved away from them over the last year or so, but we did use Tacticam for a very long time. We've had some pretty cool pictures and videos from the Tacticam, but
Did you get pictures of this guy before you shot him?
I got one good picture of him, and the other ones, he was smart though. He stayed 60 yards, so you really couldn't get a
You
good
see
picture.
a nice
But
outline of him.
yeah,
he was living in an open area then.
yeah.
Prior to this deer, prior to you killing it, did you have a name for him?
I actually didn't have a name for him. The person that found him, they called him Max. So we
Max.
just went with that and called him Max.
You went with so the deer's name was Max.
Yeah.
Prior to killing Max, what was the biggest buck you've ever killed?
It was a 180-inch deer.
Oh,
Yeah, that was 2 years ago.
Damn.
what's the story on that one?
So I found this new spot in, like, I don't know, beginning of the year, and I went down there, and me and my dad were just setting up. Well, we never hunt out of ground blinds, so we just went down there to set it up because it was a new spot. And the night we went down there, first time, we set up a ground blind. We went there like 2 o'clock and just brushed it in and all that, and we sat down, and like an hour goes by, and a couple does came in. And like another 2 hours, my dad said by like 5 o'clock we'd see a buck. And as soon as it like 5:10 hit, we saw this deer, the 180 coming in. My dad just thought it was like a decent 8-point, and I saw the whole thing first, and I was like, that's a big deer. And he ended up coming 30 yards, but he saw the blind and stopped, and I whacked him. But
Dang.
yeah,
So that was when you were 16 years old?
yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Last year I ended up killing a 150 too.
What'd you kill before the 180? Got a 180, a 150, and a 260 in the last 3 years.
It was like a 130 maybe.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone, I mean, obviously I don't know anyone that's killed a 260 personally, but
Yeah.
a 260, a 150, and a 180, and, back to back to back.
That's quite impressive.
And they're all off different properties?
Yeah.
That's the incredible part. A lot of people like to downplay guys that have say an immaculate farm somewhere, but
Yeah.
to kill them off 3 different properties
Yeah.
it's impressive. Well, let's start talking about Max over here. Let's talk about the history you have with this deer. So you found this deer last year.
Yeah.
Road scouting, trail cams. What's the story on that?
One of my friends actually sent this deer to my dad. He got a trail camera picture in September of it, and he sent it to us. And we actually got permission 2 days before the property that we're hunting now, of where he got the picture of that deer. And so he thought we started getting permission there because he saw the deer on camera. But no, we were already there. But yeah, we started. We saw this deer maybe once or twice. That was about it last year. About hit him in the truck though. That was the only time we really saw him.
Yeah, watch out for those vehicles.
And then you found his shed, obviously, or
Yeah,
someone
his shed
found
was actually pretty far. It was mile or two from where I killed him. So I mean, he was traveling a little bit last year.
Is this open type country, like heavy ag, or is it wooded? Is it rolling hills?
It's all like open woods,
Okay. So
open woods and fields.
okay, cool.
It's pretty flat.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think up in that area is pretty flat. From what
So then, fast forward to this summer. So last year, you guys got permission, saw him a few times. Almost hit him with your truck. Found the shed a mile away. Fast forward to this summer. I'm assuming you started road scouting.
Yeah.
Glassing from the road.
Uh-huh.
Was he pretty visible?
Not from the road. He was 200-300 yards. He was pretty far from the road.
Okay.
Like you would have to actually be looking for him to see him.
Were there other people out glassing him?
Not that I know of, but I'm sure there were because they knew he was in the area.
And you said there was a good amount of people hunting this deer.
Yeah. Yep. All the neighboring properties had a picture of him. So
Did anybody send you pictures of this deer, like after you killed him? Did anyone send you pictures of this deer and claim that he was like 5-10 miles away, or was everyone from your own knowledge? Obviously, sometimes they're not going to tell you, but
yeah.
real close to where you killed him from.
Yeah, a lot of people that were in the area sent me pictures of him, but there was like a couple people saying he was 2-3 miles away. But I mean,
which is
probably,
pretty
Yeah, I
typical.
mean that's
yeah.
not out of the realm.
Yeah,
You know,
but
obviously deer will make their rounds and stuff, but
Mhm.
you get pictures of a deer on your farm, and you want to believe that, obviously he's staying real close and he's going to bed here every night or every day and all this kind of stuff. But the reality is these deer are moving around. They're, someone else was 2 miles away dreaming of this deer every night. Was like, oh my God, I got him on camera twice a week. He's mine. And it's crazy how it actually ends up playing out. So then let's fast forward to the season's coming in. You've been road glassing him. You said you got one trail camera picture of him.
yeah.
Just out in the field. He just happened to come close enough. He's out feeding.
Yeah, he was just feeding in the beans and ended up going to the woods, I'm going to take a guess. But that was in late July.
Okay, so real early.
Yeah, that's when I started watching him, early July.
He had to be insane in velvet.
Oh, yeah, it made him look a lot bigger.
Which is, I mean,
Yeah, like those brow tines just had to be like a moose.
yeah.
Hmm.
So when you went into the hunting season, were you strictly focused on him, or were you just kind of hunting this good property, or were you going just after him?
I was mainly going after him, but there was, on the one picture I got, there was 2 or 3 bucks, real close to him.
Really?
I mean, not as big, but they were pretty nice.
Yeah, pretty nice.
Are you
bucks.
hunting over like an old nuclear power plant, or like that's incredible. I mean, obviously, if there's good genetics in the area, the deer are
Yeah.
able to get old. Do you have any idea how old he was? Did he send a tooth in, or has anyone commented that they knew him for a while?
We got someone's got a picture of him from 3 years ago, so we're guessing like he was like 5, maybe 4.5.
Wow. I mean, it seems to be some of those deer, the experts will say 6, 7, 8 years old, but some of those deer tend to grow their biggest racks 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, crazy.
So for the people listening, I guess we can describe his rack. If they're watching on YouTube, they can see it. But what is he, a mainframe 11-pointer?
He looks like technically by score, it looks like he's a mainframe 9. That first you would look like a
that one
G2
might
over
not.
there doesn't look like it actually would be a G2 according to like the Buddha Croc. I guess it's a mainframe 10 because he's got the small G4
So he's a mainframe 10 with a whole bunch of extras in the brow tines.
Yeah, his brow. I mean, how many points are on the brow tines total?
I've no clue.
There's
There's quite a few.
12 to 15.
Yeah.
Like, it's wild how many points he has in the brow. He's got 2 Christmas tree cactus. Just
Let me grab him.
yeah,
That way it gets in the
main shot.
guy's heavy.
He's got about a 2-inch drop tine on the left main beam. He's got some of those bot holes. It looks like.
Yeah.
Like
His
this
shed
is
had
like
the
a,
same
a
thing.
giant.
It's got that same hole.
Yeah,
I don't know
it's weird. The experts say some say that's from sticks. Some say it's from a fly larvae. Some
But
say
him
it's,
having it in the same spot
yeah,
year after
it
year.
looks like it's just
Yeah.
genetic to me, But it's incredible,
yeah,
deer.
he's a freaking moose.
His mass has to be probably close to 6 inches all the way out. I mean, he's got palmation and
Yeah.
just an incredible deer.
So why don't we roll into the season? So the season starts. You're targeting him. Obviously, you shot him early in the season.
Opening
so how many?
day.
No, it was the Saturday after opening day, so the week
Okay.
same
So
week,
a full
opening week.
weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see him any time prior to that in that first week?
Opening day we saw him. He got bumped out of the neighboring property and ran across the field and went into the block that we have permission for. But me and my dad were on opposite sides of the property. But that was the first time we saw him.
Someone was probably hunting, and
Yeah.
I'm assuming caught their wind or
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, he came with the
entry,
wind.
exit. Yeah.
Tuesday we didn't see him. Wednesday we didn't go out. Thursday I wasn't able to because I had to work. But my dad went and saw him. Just came out where he's been coming out and went right back into the woods. And then Friday night I couldn't hunt where we've been hunting because of the wind, so I had to go across the field. And he ended up coming out and going right to where I was gonna sit, 30 yards from it.
Yeah.
And I watched him for like 2 hours sit there, 30 yards from where I was gonna sit. But Saturday I went there in the evening, sat where he came out, and he did the same thing, 300 yards across the field, and came across into 30 yards.
So you watched him come from 300 yards
Yeah.
to 30.
Yep.
How did that feel?
I mean, I don't get like excited and nervous, but once he came into like 70 yards, I was like, yeah, this deer's gonna do it.
Oh, you don't get excited. I'm nervous just sitting this close to it. It's dead. So before, those hunts before, Monday or, Saturday through that first Saturday, were you all, those are tree stand hunts? You had preset spots or?
Those were all on the ground.
You guys
because we've only got 1 or 2 stands in there, but where that deer was coming out, we didn't have any good trees we could get up into, so we just hunted him off the ground.
So you guys normally ground hunters, normally stand saddles. I mean,
we do a lot in the stands, but I like to kill deer off the ground. Me and my dad both like doing it. We've both killed quite a few deer off the ground.
yeah, I mean a 260 and a 180 off the ground.
Yeah.
So the crossbow, does that play a part into that? Like, so your strategy from hunting from the ground?
Yeah, if
Did
I'm
you
gonna hunt on the ground, I'm gonna be with the
gonna take
crossbow,
a
just
crossbow.
because it's less movement you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You said, you said you shoot competition archery. You have 2 different Matthews bows. I'm assuming a competition bow and a hunting bow.
Yeah.
But you still have no problem just grabbing that crossbow,
Nope.
sitting on the ground, kill them at all costs, huh?
Yep.
We got a crossbow hanging up in there
Yeah.
for my dad.
I mean, you can't pass a deer up like
No,
this.
no.
I haven't I haven't hunted with the crossbow yet, but
Yeah.
we have it in the arsenal in case it's actually I take that back. I did sit once 2 years ago. So I was in a similar situation, not with a deer this big, but
Yeah.
there was a spot where it was late season and there was a lot of snow on the ground. And it was just no way I was gonna be able to get up in a tree and not get busted. So
Yeah.
I put a white Tyvek suit on, sat with a crossbow, saw 0 deer, and then never did again. But so that day he came out across the field. So where was he bedding? This area that he keeps coming out of. What would you describe that as?
It was the neighboring property he was bedding on. It was just, there was like one roll that came in through the field, and there must have been like a ball of vines or something that he was laying in, but he could see everything else because the rest of the woods is open. So he saw anything that came through or went through the woods.
Was he down low or up high?
Up high.
He was up
Yeah,
high.
that's what was he probably on, like a little knob? I'm
That's
assuming?
what it was.
Yep.
A roll that came up, and that's where you
That's
could
where
see.
those big bucks like to bed.
Yeah.
Especially in that flatter country too.
That's awesome. He's probably been. Did you go look for his bed at all afterwards or no?
No, I couldn't get into it because it wasn't the property we had permission
That's right.
for.
That's right.
Yeah.
Smart deer. Was there people hunting that property or was that a non-huntable property?
The neighboring property?
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy that he hunts it, he watched me shoot the deer through binoculars. He's been hunting that deer for a while.
Oh wow.
He probably knowing unless he saw you walk in, this dude's probably up in his stand or whatever he's watching. He's like, he's walking away, and as he's getting closer, he probably sees some kid. He sees you sitting there on the ground. He's probably like, "No!"
Oh yeah, he
no.
watched me walk in through binoculars. I went right where I sat down, and then he watched a deer come across and watched me shoot it and watch him die.
Was he cool about it?
Yeah, he was.
That's good.
Yeah.
Did he like walk over afterwards?
Yeah. Yep. He wanted to get his hands on the deer. I would have been the same way.
Oh
Though.
yeah.
Yeah.
If I saw this deer too, I would have wanted to at least see him in person.
All right, so you close the distance. You're hunting on the ground. You got the crossbow. It comes to 30 yards. You take
Yeah.
the shot. Good hit, bad hit,
Double longs.
double long.
Yeah.
How far did you go after that?
He ran like 60 yards, but he did like a somersault and then he got back up after, and I thought he was gonna get up and go, but after that, no, he only went a little bit. He only ended up running like total like 90 yards.
We start doing the wobble thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep.
Wow. So you watched him fall.
Yeah.
So
Right
then
in an
it was-
open bean field.
was your dad hunting that day or no?
No, he just got home from work, but him and my mom were going out to dinner, and I gave him a call after I shot the deer, and they turned right around, and my dad came out in his brand new Columbia shirt and his Hey Dudes, and he helped me drag the deer out.
What was the weather like that day?
It was pretty hot.
was
I think
hot.
it was like 70 degrees. It ended up getting down to pretty low, like 60s, 55 maybe.
that kind of thing happens to us a lot. We got pretty big extended group of people, and so when inevitably, if there's something going on, say we got a work meeting, we have dinner with our wives scheduled or whatever, or maybe whatever it is we have scheduled, someone kills. Someone always ends up killing them.
Anytime we have big plans, someone's killing.
Yeah, so naturally, but after that, you guys drug it back out. Who was the first person you told besides your dad?
It was my dad's friend. I do a lot of goose hunting and stuff with him, so gave him a call.
How fast did word spread?
My dad sent a picture of one guy, and within half hour or so, 30 people were calling my dad.
Yeah.
My phone was blowing up.
That's how it always happens.
Were people so you guys had you took it? Where did you take it to after that? Back to your guys' house? You have a shop or something?
One of my dad's friends, he's got like a big cooler. He actually owns a restaurant, but he's got a big barn where he skins deer and makes a bunch of like summer sausage and all that. So we took it there and skinned it.
Were people like converging on the?
Yeah, there's quite a few people there.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
So when you walked up to him the first time, did you like imagine that he was a 250-inch deer, or were you just like, oh, that's a 200-inch deer?
No, yeah, I mean, we knew he was going to be around 200, but no, I mean, you really couldn't see none of this because just look from forward, you can't see all these extra brow tines in it.
Yeah, that he's got about 50 inches in his brow tines.
I mean, the frame itself is just an incredible deer.
Yeah,
and we've had some big deer in the shop. We've had three 200s and a 170, couple 170s. And this deer, I mean,
he's got it all.
He's got it all. He's tall, he's heavy, he's wide.
What is he?
Got
Probably
trash.
like 23, 22 inches wide.
I think it was like 22. I think that's what it was.
21 and change on the spread. I actually wrote it down because I watched Toby Hughes' video. The right antler scores 114 inches. The left antler scores 100, and I have 25. That's right, 125 inches, that's just incredible.
Yeah,
125-inch antler. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Spread of 21 with a total gross score of 260 and change.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this shed last year was only, I think, when he did it, we had Toby score it was like 86 inches or something like that.
And he added that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 86 to 125 is like 40-some inches of difference.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So this is the Buckeye Big Buck Club score, right?
Buckmasters.
Buckeye
Big Buck Club and Buckmasters are not the same. They don't get along. They're like mortal enemies with each other.
So this will lead into our podcast that we're doing for next week.
Yeah, so the guy who scored this buck is going to be on the podcast. We're actually recording it Sunday, but it'll be the next week is when you guys listen to it. Toby Hughes scored this deer. I believe he's like the lead scorer or one of the lead scorers for Buckmasters.
Yeah. He
seems to get his hands on all the big deer that get killed in the state. I know he scored Joey's. I know he scored Bankrupt, so Joey's 199. I know he scores all of Andy Kelly's deer. So he scored Andy's big 209 or 211, whatever that one was. So I'm excited to ask him about all that stuff. But so now that you've killed a 260-inch buck and you have this story and the whole, what are you doing with the mount?
I think I wanted to get a full body if I killed this deer, but I talked about it and I just can't do it at that price. But
yeah, how much do they want for a full body these days?
The one my taxidermist said he could do it like around $2,000.
Oh, that's not bad because I feel like that's probably half of what you would normally pay.
Around, but yeah, I'm gonna get a pedestal like with like a clear bottom, so I can put like the shed and whatever like awards or something he gets.
Yeah,
I always thought a full body would be cool, but where do you put that?
Exactly,
unless you have a giant house somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta have one of those like vaulted ceiling.
Yeah.
None of us have that kind of thing going on. But yeah, pedestal would be kind of cool, so he could have his own unique. If you put it on a some display or a whiskey barrel that's open or something, he'll have his own place. And do you know of anybody else that has sheds from him? So obviously you have that one, but someone out there probably has the other ones. I'm assuming.
I bet not.
You just think they're got
missing?
ran over by a combine somewhere and smashed up.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens to a lot of our sheds around here. They go missing.
We never found any off him.
Nope. We chased a buck for 4 years and never had a single shed.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So, what's your plan for next year?
I mean, I don't think there's gonna be anything that tops that.
Like I say, you're gonna quit hunting. You're gonna start doing something
Might as well
else.
retire.
Did you do any type of filming or anything this summer when you were watching him? Like,
Yeah, I got quite like 50 videos on my phone of them.
Really?
Yeah, it's through binoculars. So I wish I had like one of the setups where you can put on like a tripod on the phone.
phone scope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that would have been cool. What else you want to ask about this particular deer?
Well, I was going to ask, I know you have it on your thing, are like your future plans? Because obviously shooting a deer like this is a big deal. Like, has anybody approached you for any kind of sponsorships or buying the rack or anything like that? Like, where do you go from here with that kind of thing?
Yeah, no one's actually like reached out yet, but I'm hoping like some point, like if this is the biggest deer killed in Ohio this year, like Cabela's will reach out because I know they'll spend they spend some money on big deer that are killed.
Oh yeah, and they get reproduction mounts and like they do.
Would you sell that rack if they were able to get a perfect reproduction?
For the right amount, I think I would. It'd have to be the right price.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the going rate for antlers is these days, but I do know that there are some serious collectors in Ohio. I can't think of the one guy's name. We've actually talked about him. We've talked about him on the podcast a few times.
Is he the one that bought C.J. Alexander's buck?
He's the guy who bought C.J. Alexander's, and then he's been on like Whitetail Cribs, and I think he was on Hunter podcast. They did the Whitetail Cribs episode where they went down in his house, and he's got like he's got some of the world's most famous deer in his basement. Crazy.
It would be tough. Like if someone offers you $50,000 for this thing, it would be hard to turn that down, especially if you can get a reproduction of it.
Yeah, I mean that's a down payment on a house. And
Yeah.
it's a good start to life. They're 18 years old. It'd almost be, to be honest, because I've always been one of those guys that was like, no, I'll never sell. That's my deer. I don't ever want it. But think about the stress of. If you sell that to, say, Cabela's or one of those official antler collectors, maybe, what's that, the Bucks of Ohio that they have down at the Deer Assoc or something, your antlers are safe then.
Yeah.
You can go see them whenever, like, they're in the public eye, blah, blah, blah.
Plus your name's going to be
if you have your deer all shoved up in your basement, you get a house fire or something, they're all gone,
gone.
There's things you don't want to think about, but.
Plus your name's going to be plastered at all these shows under that deer.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be a tough decision.
I don't think I'll ever be in a situation where anyone's going to want to buy my deer rack, so it doesn't matter. But
no.
Logan, you're going to have some decisions to make here.
And besides the Toby Hughes podcast, any like articles? Anybody contact you that like Outdoor Life or anything like that?
I did a Field and Stream write up. They did an article about it, and then what's the other one? They just texted me today. North
American Whitetail?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, they texted me today. They want to do another write-up.
When I was a kid, that North American Whitetail magazine was so cool. It's kind of sad that the magazines have kind of gone away. I know that they still exist, but most of the things are online articles and stuff. And
But they still post them on.
Yeah, and as cool as that is, though, it's not the same as being able to get a magazine and being on the cover or opening it up and seeing your spread and your story.
What about the like crossbow manufacturer or anything like that?
No, they haven't reached out either. But they might. It's just I probably got to get their name out.
Yeah, I know that other.
Your family sells Matthews. The Matthews dealers are probably like, "Come on, man! Go throw us a bone here or something."
Yeah, because who's that dude that shot a couple 200s with crossbows? He's all sponsored by them now in the deer contest.
And
Randy.
He's
a big buck master.
Randy Kukral. Toby Hughes measures all his deer too.
Yeah. He's killed some nice deer.
I think he's killed.
He's like sponsored
three straight 200s. I think. Yeah.
I heard he's working on his fourth. That's what.
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
Was he in the deer contest this year?
Yeah, I think I do think they redid their team for the deer contest, but I'm not asking you to give away any information on where it was shot. But was this a deer that would be considered? A city buck, country buck? Is it close to suburbs? Is it, or is this just a deer out in the country living in farm fields?
No, yeah, it's a country deer.
Country deer.
Yep.
Well, that, to me, not to take away anything from anyone's deer, but to me that makes it just a little bit more impressive that this isn't one of those.
Because a lot of the 200-plus deer that we see nowadays are from the suburbs.
Yep.
And if you're the kind of guy that, makes your living or makes your thing is to chase 200-inch bucks, 180-inch bucks, like the true giants. That's the way you have to go to be able to get on one every year.
Yeah, like that's how Sequon and Leos, that's their brand basically.
Because those deer can live to be older. There's plenty of food. It's harder to get access to them now. When I don't know if it's necessarily harder to hunt them, but it's harder to get access to them. I mean, people aren't letting you just hunt their backyards.
Yeah,
they're not getting wasted during gun season either.
Yeah, and and I think that's the big key. This deer. Like you said, he had either a bullet hole or an antler hole in his ear. It makes you wonder how many times he was shot at.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's some guys that came to you and were like had their stories of their encounters with him. Anybody?
There was one person, the neighboring property. He only had one encounter with him, but no one else really came and talked about it. But
It seems like he was pretty well isolated to that small area.
He really liked the one block of woods. But the block he was in, it was pressured.
Yeah,
Really?
which is funny. Deer, I mean, obviously a genetic freak, but it's crazy that a deer can be pressured. A lot of people know about him and, still able to achieve a rack like that.
And antler size or else, I mean, he's still a 5 or 6 year old whitetail. He's not any different mentally than 130 inch that we have around here. It's just the fact that he has 260 inches of antlers.
That shed antler just looks like it's crazy. Like the shed that's sitting in front of it there, like the way his beam is shaped and stuff, it looks like a weapon almost. It's awesome.
I don't think I've ever seen mass carried out this far on any deer. Not even Freak Daddy, not even Luke's deer.
No. The beams I think were 27. Toby measured the beams at 27 inches.
Yeah.
Which is pretty incredible. I mean, 27-inch beam is wild.
I think the longest ever is, 32? Remember that
31 or 32, which is an Ohio deer as well, I believe. Yeah.
Cool.
What do you got next?
I got nothing.
I want to know more about the 2 bucks that were with him in July that you said obviously weren't that big, but similar. He was with a bachelor group of other deer that were obviously just as big.
Yeah, I mean
close to as big.
Yeah, from the pictures, I mean they were pretty close. I mean that was the only picture we ever got of them.
Has your dad been hunting the property since you killed him?
My dad hunted it one other time, and he said he saw a pretty nice 8-point. That was probably like 160, maybe 150.
I'd assume from your track record, your dad's probably killed some big deer as well in his day.
Yeah, he's stuck around 140s.
So is your dad, I guess this is a perfect segue to kind of keep it going. Your dad, is he the one that introduced you to like bow hunting, getting you into hunting and all that?
Yeah.
Was he has he been a big hunter since he was a kid, or did he get into it later?
No, he started when he was younger. He actually started taking me into the tree stand when I was like 4 or 5.
Really?
Yeah.
And he's the one that owns the archery shop?
No, that'd be my grandpa, my mom's side.
Okay.
They're actually the ones that actually got me into archery.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So.
Did your grandpa on both sides hunt, or just the one?
Yeah, yep, they both did.
So you come from a hunting family.
Yeah.
But no one else has any 180s or 260s on the wall.
No, yeah, the biggest one my dad killed was probably 150.
Do you guys have like a big, massive family trophy room, or does he just throw them in a box in the garage? Or
No, most of them are my room, but we got two in the living room. But most of them we just make European mounts out of them.
Gotcha, yeah.
And put them out in our barn.
You don't have you have like some guys will have like a shop or something, when you have deer of this caliber. What'd you do with your 180 mount wise?
I just put that right up on the wall.
So it didn't have a pedestal, nothing like that.
Well,
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you doing the rest of the year? Like walleye fisherman?
probably walleye fishing.
I'd assume from where you're from that you're big into walleye fishing.
Are you in the fall brawl or whatever it is?
fall brawl and the walleye slam.
Everybody in the
fall brawl.
Yeah.
So our one of our other brothers who's not here today, Luke, he's in the fall brawl and he's got play. I think he's going up
fishing tomorrow.
Yeah, I think he's fishing in the morning and then going to try to come home and hunt in time.
Because did it just start today or
It started last week.
Anybody catch any big ones yet?
There was one 11-pounder weighed in, so that'll stay for a little bit, but then.
Isn't it usually like 14, 15 that they get up to?
Around 13.
Around 13.
It's kind of hard, I think, this time of year.
Yeah,
after the spawn and everything.
Yeah,
like,
most of the winners they'll catch them like the last 3 weeks or so.
Well, I guess if you are going to be spending your time on the fall brawl, you just need to find a way to win that. So that way you can have the biggest buck killed in the state and win the fall brawl.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
What did Luke say? The price tag is up to almost $500,000 or something for
That was
that?
$247, I thought.
It might be, yeah.
250, 240 something.
Yeah, I know the ones it's a new warrior, so.
Yeah. You guys, what kind of boat you guys have?
We have a 19-foot Lund.
Okay.
My dad's a charter guy, so he runs charters. So.
Okay.
So
that's probably how he got.
I'm assuming that's how he knows Petri then.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm assuming. What's his charter called?
Easy Eyes.
Easy Eyes.
Yeah,
I feel like that sounds.
He just started running them last year.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, there's a lot of people running charters up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we know 4 or 5
3
guys
or 4.
that run charters. Anything else you want to add in, man?
No.
I know we kind of got straight to the point. I mean,
yeah.
You sat a total of 4 or 5 times, killed him on the 4th or 5th hunt.
It's a hell of a deer.
It is a hell of a deer, man. I don't know if we'll ever have a wild deer in this shop as big as that one.
Probably not. But we're glad you came on.
Yep. Thank you for
Glad
having
for
me.
sharing.
Hopefully it wasn't too far of a drive.
No, not too bad. It was like 45 minutes. Not bad.
Yeah,
You're going to probably end up starting making your rounds throughout the state, and other people are going to try getting you on podcasts and this
sure.
and that. And
as the season goes on, if it stays the biggest deer, for sure.
have you heard of any big ones killed that are close to this?
There was one actually. I think it was like 2-3 days ago. There was one that ended up being like 232 or 2 something.
So I follow that. Obviously, I follow like Toby Hughes. I see some, but then I follow that that Trophy Bucks of
Yeah.
Ohio. That guy, I can't remember his name, and we should because
I
we've
don't
met
know.
him a couple times. That dude, he always posts obviously like the biggest deer that get killed, and like
Yeah.
I've seen a few on there that are like
Yeah.
incredible, but I don't know if they've been measured or not yet, but they're starting to really fall. Ohio's insane for these big bucks.
Yeah. It's for sure a sleeper state.
Yeah, I mean,
It is the state anymore. When it comes to 200-inch deer, I don't know if there's any other state that's beating it.
I don't
now.
think there's as many 200 and 300-inch bucks in the record books as Ohio. It's kind of nice up here towards our way, towards your way, like this northern part of the state. There's not a ton of public land.
No.
So, I mean, obviously there's some leasing going on, but a lot of it's family farms. And if you know people and have known them your whole life, this and that, you have relationships or it's land that your family owns. It kind of makes it so even though there are a ton of bucks of this caliber, a whole bunch of people can't just get on them from out of state. You know, if this deer was running around Iowa or Kansas or Oklahoma, one of those states with public ground everywhere, there'd be dudes loaded up on them.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Loaded up in there. But yeah, man, one hell of a buck. We appreciate you bringing them out here.
Yep. I think we wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm good
Thanks
with
for
that.
coming out.
thank
Appreciate
you.
you sharing your story. Deer Shot Podcast episode
67.
67. And we are out.
Out.